Mama que Kaina Shema Kaili Yana Sam Kashuba Kalta Kanunya Kaina Shema Adonai Imi Amare Kim Pasli Kholma Tivore Bisi Adonai Kipso Nafshi Lidvara Yochalti Actually, I know I'm showing him like showing him like After Yisroel no Kimadino Yakase, Varbe my Pedos. If there's Israel, because I'm going to start. Put my face. My skill of it. Yoisa, Ibamarasila. Koili, Ladino, yes, Koili, Ladino, yes, Hanan. Ashburg, the Bonav Sikhi, Sarasi, the Bonav Agi. Table I look about the Datin Suasi, Boyazwale, Tom no Kakli. Beg you minute, any Maki. About Manos Mimeni, ain't Doida, Shlenapshi. Sakti, Elecho Adonai, Amati Adamasi Kelki, Beretz Achayim. Shiva Nasiki Daloisi Miyai, Atzileni Meroi Devai, Yom to Mimani. Tzia Maski Nafshi Loidus Hashimecha, Be Atiru Tzadikim, Yisigmoy Loloi. Keinu Kol Beis Yisrael, Sunim B'Tzorah, B'Shivya, I'm the Bein B'Yom, Bein B'Yabosh, Amokoy Merachim Aliyah, Yatzia Mitzorah L'Rivacha, V'Nukayla L'Oyra, Yeshiva L'Gola, Ashok Hozman Karev, V'Noyman, Amen. It'll pay Gimel. You hear me? That's what I read. That's what I read. Paging Shin is my last song. Then Adamila, Atakash, Natish, Goite. Hinay Abata Yamayo, Insanecha, Nasurai. Ram Goirin Sai, Isyatsu Atsunecha, Amru, Lachinachim Migoy, Loizak Hashem Yisroel. Yatsu Leviat, Gavalecha, B'Sifra Yisroel. Holy Adam Ishmaelim, Moya Vagrim. Bo, Gama Gamuli, Klesha, Tzrurah Shvitzah. Gama Shur Nilvana, Moisrael, Neyoitzel. Say them, Gemidjon B'Sishra, Yovin, Benachal Pirchei. Ishmedu Gaindori, Roitainel Adam. Say man in the way we're going to say, the Zerok Samuno, Thomas Tehay. Shalom and Yisroel, the way story, so the high, Shem Chagalga, Gagash, Meir. Hey, Shivaya, hey, did the pain Sarah, Squasaka, Malay. Not a name going back to Shinfa, I know. The Vaishu, Vada, the Shapiro Pirchei. They the God of Shinfa, they know the Vandana. Elion. Last day of the year, Shin pay down. We didn't think it's going to end this way. This when we rain the toilet, tHEAgudah we could sell. All the time we're davening, our good father, of everybody. Shmuel then this is Meir, he said to Bas-Tzion. Moishe B is a perennial bracha. It's hard to say it. I know Moshe since he was a little boy, he used to come to yeshiva and tell us Chicago to learn Thursday nights. And he was 8 years old. And he always had the same brand, old Lebanonite. He used to come in to yeshiva to learn. He didn't think, we were sure, Ani Machatzti, the airport. The Rebbe says, I made sick and I'm going to heal. We were sure the Rebbe is going to heal him. Every day, yesterday morning, we heard he got a little better. And I even spoke to him yesterday. And the Rebbe Tzrurah told him all of this expansion to say the tHEAgudah. The Rebbe his work is tamen, it's complete. Everything the Rebbe does, we have no kashas under Rebbe. We have no kashas under Rebbe. To see a person like Moshe, whose whole life was helping Klal Yisrael, if it meant through being a Rebbe and giving his whole life and nefesh being a Rebbe, or meant to run Pirchei, giving his whole heart with Pirchei, or it meant running the camp. Everything he did for Klal Yisrael. Probably has thousands of Talmidim that through him, people that because of him are learning Torah, because of him are doing mitzvahs. The brand that he gave in every way. Just once Shir Azois Le'ed Bnei Yisrael. Torah is called a Shira, the song. So Hashem explained why is it called a Shira. The Bible once said, like when the Malach came to Yeshua, Al Zois Basi, so it's bring because says Ato Kisel comes a Shira Zois Al Ato Basi. What Shira means my whole life is a song to Rebbe Moshes. Moshe's whole life was a song to Rebbe Moshes. Always singing. His Yehei Rabba, his Amen, his davening, his saying stories. Every story, there was so much in that story to be able to instill in our children, infuse in our children, Yerushalayim, Ehrlichkeit, Emunah. Every one of his stories was a whole sefer. Everything he did, he was a shira. Torah was a shira to him. Torah wasn't something I have to do. Torah is something I want to do. I want to sing it. Torah has to be a shira, and that's what Moshe was. His whole life was one song to the Rebbeinu Shloim. Everything he did, his davening, his learning, his hashpah, everything he did was one song to the Rebbeinu Shloim, singing to the Rebbeinu Shloim. Everything he did was singing to the Rebbeinu Shloim. And so apropos, this Shira, also Shira Zois La'ed, Kilesishokam Vsara, Hashem has such a beautiful family, Shesila Zaysim, every one of the children, the sons and the daughters, everyone, the sons-in-law, the daughters-in-law, the whole family, because anytime you just met with Moshe, you got infused with this singing to the Rebbeinu Shloim. The way he looked for davening, the way he looked into learning b'simcha, learning with a shira. The simcha he had in camp when the boys finished Mishnayos, when the boys were learning, the shira, the sing that he sat in his class, by Pirchei, everything that he did was a shira, the song to the Rebbeinu Shloim. The song, a life of song, a life of Torah of shira, a life of everything is for the Rebbeinu Shloim. Kol Hashem. It's so hard to see him suffer. But we believe Tzrurah Tom Ba'alai Chol Derachos Mishpat Ke'elamuna Ve'inovel Tzadik V'Yosher. We know everything Rebbeinu Hashem does is 100%. We have no kashas in Rebbeinu Shloim. Every time he was mechazik himself, he went to camp even in his condition to be able and spoke to the council, spoke to the campers. He still gave every week. He gave a lesson every week. As long as he was able to do something, he went to, because that's what his life was, a shira. One chain of song to the Rebbeinu Shloim. Till the last minute is one, and we believe the Rebbeinu Shloim Ani Hu. The Rebbeinu Shloim, he is the one who does everything. We have no kashas under Rebbeinu Shloim. Rebbeinu Shloim gave him such a beautiful family, a wife that took care of him till the last minute. Risa was so dedicated to him to make sure everything's comfortable, everything to make sure that he's able. She pushed him to go to camp, she pushed him to do everything to be able to, till the last second, and even later, after everything from Moshe. This year they had the loss of the Choshev son Menachem. Anyone who saw what it means, a father, a mother, a father, when he used to bring Menachem to the Beis HaMedrash, the enjoyment that he had, that Menachem was able to say Good Shabbat, came over to me. The enjoyment that he had, that he could say Amen. Such a loss. Shabbos morning when we heard about it. And Menachem is there waiting for him. The neshama tahora of Menachem, the pure neshama, the neshama without a chait. Like Ben Ish Chai writes that these neshamas come to the world just to bring their kedusha to the world, and the Chazon used to stand up to the families that had these neshamas because the Rebbe gives these families, these neshamas, to special families. But unbelievable what they did for Menachem all the years. Remember his bar mitzvah, everything they did for him. But Reb Moshe, we miss you so much. I can't believe Bas-Tzion will be without Moishe Blaustein. I can't believe Camp will be without Moishe Blaustein. I can't believe Yitzchok will be without Moishe Blaustein. I can't believe Pirchei will be without Moishe Blaustein. The chiyus that he had, the chiyus HaKedusha, the chayus HaKedusha that v'chai b'am, like the Chotzka said, Av leben mit Torah, that's where he lived, that gelebt mit Torah, with a lebendigkeit. But we have a Kabul, the Midas Adin, the last, looks like the Gzeir was that it should be in Topshim Pei Dalet. That's what Menashe last year, Rosh Hshana, when we davened, Yomas. Last year when we davened, Rosh Hshana, we didn't know there's going to be a pogrom on Shmini Atzeres. We didn't know that that's going to happen. I said over many times that after the pogrom, Baruch Hashem, many people did tshuva. Many people started keeping Shabbos. Many people started putting on tefillin, wearing tzitzis, putting on mezuzahs on the doors. And Rabbi Hashem showed us Nissim complete after that pogrom. Afterwards, Rabbi Hashem showed us Nissim Geluyim. Yesterday again, our arch enemy, Seir v'choisnoi, Iran is Seir v'choisnoi. They want to wipe us out, and both times, Vav Nissen and yesterday again, nothing happened to a Yid. Nothing happened. Rabbi Hashem showed that we do tshuva in our Bas-Medrash. Right after the pogrom, we did what Yossi said. We should take on ourselves not to talk during davening, and made Mishaber for that. We were fighting the fight for Eretz Yisrael, and Moshe was leading the fight. Moshe, with his simchas hatorah, simchas of doing mitzvahs, davening as long as he was able to, the simcha of davening, the simcha of putting on tefillin, the simcha that he showed all his talmidim and talmidos in camp and all over, that he gave over what it means to be happy you're a Yid. Asher bacha b'charta b'chaim. You choose it because you love it, and that's what he loved. He loved being a Yid. And the Baal Shlom's Gzeira was that he should pass away today, the last day of the year. We have to be mekabel b'ahava. We have to ask Rabbeinu Shalom, Hanina goyim amai, all the nations to see v'chiprat masay amai. Baal Shlom should show nokim tzor of tiyah. The Baal Shlom should take nekama from all our enemies. Moishe, you're coming up to Shemayim. You davened so hard here always for Eretz Yisrael, for Klal Yisrael, for your family, your Chosheva family, for your Chosheva wife, for your mother-in-law, for the whole mishpacha, for all the brighter mishpacha, your brothers, your sister, your brothers-in-law, your sisters-in-law, the whole family, B'yamei Yosher, for the tHEAgudah that you love so much, our Bas-Medrash that you love, the Agudas Yisrael that you love so much, your Talmidim that you love so much, your Talmidos that you love so much. This year should be a year that we should only see good things. The Baruch Hashem should show that he should chipper amai. He will show us that that he'll take away nokom, he'll take nekama from our Tzrurah, all those enemies that we have. And we should, Moshe, we should be zoich to see with you go connect Mashiach. I see you dancing in front of Mashiach. Moshe, you'll be the first one, together with Menachem, to dance in front of Mashiach. Meir b'yameinu, amen.
Well, I think we'll be back here. I mean that for everyone. Everyone. Start. Moishe ad Moishe lekam k'Moishe. That's all I could say. This, I'm going to be giving a hesped. My brothers are going to be giving a hesped, but when I was thinking about it, the truth is that everyone in this room over here, everyone should be giving a hesped. Everyone. We're all hear it so often where I was affected with Rabbi Blaustein, I was affected as a Talmud, I was at camp, and I went from camp and I did here, and because of this I affected other people, and because I affected other people, the way I run my school now, I use Rabbi Blaustein's things he taught me in camp, that's because of that. The way I teach my kids, all that. Rabbi Lowy, you had a question before. Some of us are wondering, why do such things happen to great people? There is an answer to it. There's an answer. I have an answer for it. To embellish on the question, to someone who gives over everything for his family, then to the klal, and the klal takes what they get, they become leaders and they spread it out to others, and then the whole world gets affected. So then Hashem has to make a decision. He has to make the world a better place. I want the world to be a better place. Who am I going to pick? I need someone who the whole world is going to be affected by. That's my father. Hashem wants tefillas. Hashem says I can pick him, but I'll get tefillas at him, but not kabbalas. But Rabbi Blaustein, I'm going to get tefillas from people. I'm going to get kabbalas. I'm going to get tshuva. That will affect everyone. Someone who's a Rebbe, someone who does Likra Shabbos, Thursday night Mishmar, Avos Ubanim, willing a raffle to be a sleepover by his house, that's being a Rebbe, camp, Pirchei, list goes on. Most of all, to me, everyone knows the storyteller I am today. Abba, a father and a role model molded me and today. The Machashivas of Torah. When I see my father on Purim holding it, picking up, kissing the picture of Moishe Feinstein, kissing it with his lave and nefesh. Torah. Where does that Torah come from? Leads me into the next part. My sister Michal told me to say this over. 1977, my father went to the Beis Yisroel, the Ger Rebbe, and the Ger Rebbe's parting words were, Dav haben gut chaverim, and you should be alamdid. To establish on the first part, the chaverim, the city of Toronto, all over, the chaverim is here, the Rebbe's bracha came true, Imo and Abba, chaverim that you have. So lucky. Chaverim. The Lamdan, like the Rav said, running to Thursday night, running to the Mishmar, is Chashivas the Torah. His bracha came true. Moving on. The way my father, you want to know. I remember I would learn with my father. I'd learn the Masechta with him before yeshiva would start. We would say, okay, Abba, we came back from camp. So you can imagine it was like yeshiva started 3 days later. Elul, you had to unpack from camp. Everything was wild. Yossi, sit down. Let's learn the first Masechta. I still remember Masechta's Kedushin. We couldn't really learn it. Maybe we really could. He just had something else in mind. He told me the Ma'aser of Rabbi Akiva Eiger. He said, Yossi, I'm not going to learn with you the first Mishnah. But he told me the Ma'aser of Rabbi Akiva Eiger. If the guy didn't want to give his get a wife, and he told me, Yossi, the guy said, pick one. Like the Mishnah says, beget uv'misas habal. That was my introduction to Masechtas Kedushin with the story. That's how I live by it. And I passed on that introduction to other people as well who were learning Kedushin. Abba, I took after you. And you want to talk about someone who's a storyteller? Your modern day Maggid mixed into an old school Maggid? Do for covered. If you would start now, he would be the greatest storyteller in the world, but not for covered. If I can encourage another kid to do better. Another thing my father said, moving on, Pirchei. Moving on to Pirchei. I'm going to skip around a little bit. Moving on to Pirchei, kids will come to Pirchei. These are kids who just wanted a break from school. They needed a break. They were going through a hard time. Whatever it was, whether it's at home, whether it's in school, they got the break they needed. My father gave it to them with such a smile. Before camp this year, Michal showed me a speech Abba gave. He said the story of Rabbi Monk from Camp Monk, who said the koiches of Meir Zlotowitz as a kid. Rabbi Monk saw that Meir Zlotowitz, his kid has koiches. Doesn't like camp so much, arts and crafts a little here and there. He went on, obviously, to become and to do millions of hours of learning. And my father said to the campers at the time, Are you going to bring out the koiches of that Meir or the girls, that Meira? And that's what he put his leiv and nefesh into camp. About bringing out the koiches in camp, whether it was Shabbos skits. Well, Shabbos skits was not just to kill time. Let the kids, let's see if they can act. Bring out their self-confidence. Now's the time. Visiting day concert, which they give a kid a chance to sing. I think the people who shined in camp, everyone did, and everyone did. Whether you're a brand name, whether you're not a brand name, you shine and you know. He loved my father, even color war. My father loved Camp HaGodah so much because he loved watching campers, not only campers, staff using their talents after a long year in school. They needed a break. A hard year just to go to camp, because my father would say one summer in camp does more than a whole year in school. I'll never forget, I came back my first year in yeshiva. I wanted to be a counselor. It didn't work out. I became a learning Rebbe. My father said, I came back after Elul. I come back for Sukkot. My father's like, I've been saving this message for you, Yossi. Message is that the kid is doing better in school. And his Rebbe said he does it to his learning Rebbe. And I realized, and another kid, he said, I never knew you could learn Torah and be into sports at the same time. So just being so normal. Skip around a little bit, just, so much of the klal, but on a personal note, the impact my father made on me. Rabbi Lowy mentioned it again, the learning, his geschmack he had in learning, and as a kid, I still remember it. He would get all into it. I'd be like, well, I'm like, relax. And he'd be like, no, he'd get all into it. I was like, and that's how I get into it. And my call, because my kid was like, just tone it down a little bit. I'm like, this is how my father gave it over to me. No matter how busy Abba was, camp, everything, always picking up my phone calls. Even if I called too much, picked them up. He knew I wanted extra attention. He gave it to me. Didn't make a difference who, what, where, family. Love this all. The midah of das Torah is something following das Torah. You want to know following das Torah? You know what das Torah is? Das Torah is that Camp HaGodah would have not got Rabbi Blaustein had it not been for das Torah. My father was supposed to go to camp called Tehay. His Rosh Yeshiva called him in. His Rosh Yeshiva said to him, you're doing so good in yeshiva. I don't want you to go. I don't know, was it? Maybe it was a different camp. It doesn't make a difference. He said, I want you to go to camp and go to Toronto. So my father was like, there's no jobs available. I'm not going to camp and go to Toronto. Not happening. His friends are waiting in the car. That's how my father told it to me. He said, no, you go. My father came as a rotating counselor. A year later, Colorado General against Suki or Ding, one or the other. My father won, of course. And that counts. Didn't. He was a leader. And the rest is history. The rest is we're all here. Moving on, at Das Torah, following Emunas Chachamim, each one of us, I see it in all of us. Me, my sisters, my brothers. I remember when I was nervous to drive, I got my license. Abba, I was like, I feigned all like, Abba, I'm like, yeah, send me anywhere you want, I'll be fine. I'm not nervous, Like Abba just sent me off somewhere. Abba, I was nervous, but you just sent me off to just because you wanted, just to know I had to build up that confidence. You knew me. Yeah, my father had the oxygen mask on before the first time he took it off. He knew I needed that extra kiss. I looked at him. He went like this with his lips. Just for me. He wanted me to have that kiss. But that wasn't good enough, my father. The day before, gives me a wink. Relax, Yossi. And then he wanted to prep me. He said to me on Sunday, he looked at me like he said so many times to me over the years, whatever. He said to me, what are you going to do if I'm not around? And I looked at my father and I said, I just don't know. Abba taught me to make the world a better place. Kiddush Hashem. I'm on the bus coming home from, not saying from where, but it doesn't make a difference. And a kid mouthing off to the bus driver. My father says, that's enough, go off the bus. As a Rebbe. And the bus driver's like, oh, well, boys will be boys. My father's like, no, you'll be hearing from us. My father is sitting in Sam's barbershop. When, I don't know how the guy saw it, the guy comes running in and he says, "You Jews! You Jews, you're something else." Sam probably missed the guy's hair, he nailed something else, and the guy's like, "What's going on?" He said, that boy waited for me. He waited with a letter, an apology letter. "You Jews are something else because my father's all about Kiddush Hashem." You know, everyone hears that line my father says in camp, Kiriv, who says Kiriv Kroivim is better than Kiriv, who says Kiriv Rechakim is better than Kiriv Kroivim. The truth is, besides that, Kiriv Kroivim, all year long, my father was Kiriv Rechakim. Let's give this guy matzahs. He needs matzahs. He's not so from. Let's give him matzahs to the Sheikh Lulav and Esrog, a next door neighbor. Let's go all the way up north, step up north to give shalach manas to someone. I'm like, Abba, seriously? And my father loved Rabbi Zilberstein's questions, what if? We discussed that Hanhaga a couple of days ago, giving a penny to tzedakah, were you Yitzchok or not? My father said the Hanhaga of just giving tzedakah. My father made the extra effort again when he had the breathing mask on. I said the joke, and he said to me, "Funny." And I said, "Well, Abba, what do you say?" And he made it again. He made the extra effort. He knew I needed it. Thank you, Abba. I thank you so much. I thank you, Hashem, for giving my father the kaiches for that. Every day for the past months, besides my Kabbalahs, Hashem, I've accepted everything. We say in davening, I couldn't be more thankful to have the greatest father, and greatest, goes without saying, the greatest mother, be born into such a family. I was looking through my text today, see anything noticeable. I sent my father the invite for my daughter's kiddush, and my father sends me back a line. Make sure to put your in-laws' name first before our names, even though the letter B comes first. Doesn't make a difference. My father covered, nothing, doesn't make a difference. Got a bracha for my whole family a couple of days ago. Finish off. A few more of just 3 small points. Number 1, he always showed extreme, just a few quick facts about my father. He will show the most extreme cover for Bubby and Zeta, his in-laws. When I asked him for a bracha Friday night in camp, his sensitivity to others, come to the side where no one could see us, just in case there's a Yassam over here. To end off, say some thank yous over here. I know some people might be missed, but our family, every time we go through it, there's more people that keep coming up, and we have the most endless thank yous. We're going to do the best we could. Thank you, Shelly Botnick. Besides the personal chizuk you gave me, the whole family, the no words for everything you've given day and night, selflessly, endlessly, throughout our father's illness, for my mother being there throughout this whole thing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Hashem should give you and your family continue to strengthen Avodas HaKodesh and everything you do. Dr. Phillipson, Dr. Rothenstein, Dr. Singh, all the wonderful doctors and nurses at Toronto, General and Princess Margaret, you gave my father, you gave him such great, our father, I should say, all of us, speaking on behalf of my family, you gave our father such great care. Rabbi Lowy, I don't know what to say. I go to the Rav. I don't get my kids on a rush to the meal. Go say good Shabbos to the Rav. My father told me to every meeting I have. I say good Shabbos to the Rav. They're going to chacham him so much. Everything, Rabbi Lowy. Remember my father when he was little. I have no words to say. I have no words, Rabbi Lowy. Thank you for being the Rav of the shul. My father, everything. Rabbi Schuster. To say much where you were, Rabbi Weinberg, Rabbi Moshe Weinberg. Past few days, Biker Chaylim, Hanan, Shui, Shloimi, and all the Hatzalah members, always on call. Miss Ask him. You guys, everyone treated our father with the most covered, with the most dignity, and being there for our whole family, for all the little things. The whole Toronto community, our family is so thankful to all of you. Extension of our family. Eitz Chaim family. Besides the fact we all went through Eitz Chaim. Past, current leadership of all of Eitz Chaim families. Of Eitz Chaim Camp THEAgudah, thank you. All to end off, all our friends, all our family and friends who are there for us constantly with endless help, tefillas, tehillim groups, chalabakes, benching, kabbalahs, benching from a bencher. There's a lot of tzchusim up there for my father and for the whole world. And achroin chaviv, to end off. Ima, thank you for everything you've done for Abba. You're such a role model for all of us. How you should be an Eishes Chayil, as Abba would say. How am I going to say it? Viatalis, al ataris, al kulana. Abba would say in Eishes Chayil. Ima, you've given everything to us as children. You didn't stop for a second. And we're so thankful. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. What's the pasuk? Macha Hashem Elokim Dima Al Kabanim. Thank you, Hashem.
Before I started in Camp THEAgudah, I called Rabbi Turin Zatzal. And I said to him, Rav, please tell me, what do I need to know? Help me in this job that you did for all those years. And he told me 2 pointers in halacha that he wanted me to know. He told me 2 pointers in halacha that he wanted me to know. And then he told me about camp and the running of camp. You have nothing to worry about. You have Moshe. You have Moshe, and the camp will run al pi ruach hatorah. The camp will run with a Yiddishkeit, mit an Ehrlichkeit. You have nothing to worry about. But now what? Now what? Where's that ruach? Where's that achdus? A 20-year-old bacher from Lakewood who went to many other camps this year, came for the first time to Camp THEAgudah, was around Rabbi Moshe Zatzal for 4 days in total. He told me the ruach of achdus, the ruach of campers caring, just is nowhere else to be found like this. And it came, he met Rabbi Blaustein the first time, it came from Reb Moshe. Now what? By the Akedah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Avram, Kach noch es bincha yechidcha. Kach noch, Rashi says, please. Why please? Hashem said, according to Gemara, that if you fail this time, then you failed all of them. It's not worth it. All the Rishonos. How does that make sense? How can it be if you get a 9 out of 10, you get a 90, you don't get a 0? What is Rashi saying from Chazal, that if you failed on the final Yisroel, you're going to fail, everything is lost. Lamai, the first 9 Yisroelis were all about Avram Avinu, Lech Lecha, all about himself. But when the Nisoyin are giving over to the next door, if we don't do that, that's total failure for everything. Moshe, that's how he lived like that. Everything was partial to give over to the next door. Everything. His focus in camp, he told me, my focus is not to make sure that every child has fun. My focus is to make sure that every child is touched by the Agudah Ruach. How many boys did he see the next year after they were there, and he knew they were struggling, and he saw them doing better? And he saw them doing better. He burst into tears, and he'd take me. He said, look, Aryeh, look at what happened. Look at it. He lived with them. Their challenges, their nisyoy, where he lived with them. He worried all the time about them. He came for one Shabbos this year. It was a maimed that anybody who was zeicher to see will never forget. 200 plus maspidim bachrim Shabbos Friday night came to walk by, to singing and dancing, the Rebbeim, and then to walk by and say Good Shabbos. Each boy, as they walked by, got a comment. And as I stood there next to Moshe, as each boy got that comment, you saw they didn't come to sing and to dance and to give to Reb Moshe and make him feel welcome. They came to get. They couldn't move. They couldn't tear their eyes away from him. The comments he said gave them such chizik, they just were drinking it up. Nobody ever felt, and sometimes in camp there's times that for discipline, nobody ever felt that they were disciplined. When Moishe, when Rabbi Blaustein had to give Musar, everyone accepted it because it was kuloi from Ava. The focus on the next door, it didn't make a difference what he had to do. There was no covet. Nothing, there's no such thing as covet. You could see him doing the most simple janitorial jobs. It was the focus was for the next door. Take on. He spoke that last Shabbos in the dining room. He spoke and he said this many times because he knew that there were boys who didn't have the tam of Shabbos that the camp, the Ruach camp had. And he told them, take the Ruach with you. The Shabbos, take it through the week and take it through the year. Those boys, they stood around. They never seen him, some of the boys. But they felt that Ava. They felt the love of a father, the same way a father loves every child. He connected and had thousands and thousands of Talmidim in the classroom in Tehay and in campgrounds in Port Carling. He told me the first day, and you would see it every moment. As was mentioned earlier, his commitment and his devotion to Das Torah. But Reb Moshe, you were my Rebbe. You were my Rebbe teaching me how to love and care and do for every Talmud what they need. How to really worry and daiga and be there for every Talmud. He lived a life where everything he did was al pi the Das Torah. Everything he did was to be mamlech Hashem. You never saw him doing stam things. He was always busy doing, making sure that he was going to give over the Messiah. That Ratzon Hashem being mamlech Hashem. Last night, Erev Rosh Hshana, the end of a year. We know by tzaddikim it says that when they're niftar on their birthday, it's a show as a sign of completeness of their avodah. A yid whose avodah was mamlech Hashem, when he's niftar perhaps on Erev Rosh Hshana, perhaps that's a sign he completed his avodah being mamlech Hashem. It's the end of his year, it was completed. As we sang, B'yodai afkid ruchi, Hashem li v'lo yiro. His neshama was Yossi b'Tayra. Your Rebbetzin, I could be made that none of the work could have been done without the Rebbetzin support. She was always there to push, encourage. And even times when Moshe said it's too much, she knew what to do and to get him to do more and more and more that he could fulfill his life's tafkid. Moshe gave her the kisi hakovid. Daven for your chashav Rebbetzin. She should have the koyach to keep on her avodah. Daven for your special children. I beg you, daven for your thousands and thousands of Talmidim from Tehay and from Camp Aguda, who you touched and you changed their lives in ways that nobody else did. Daven that we should all be nichta b'sifrin shel tzadikim gemurim, all be nechtav for ksiva v'chasima toiva, and the Eibishter should bench this, that we should all together see the Gula Shlema. U'mocha Hashem alekim dima me'al kol panim, u'gila mavas ha'netzach v'neim amen.
I don't even know where to start, so I'm just gonna do the best I can. Everyone bear with me because as part of my speech, it's gonna be a little bit all over the place. But basically, a lot of us are sleep deprived. I mean, including myself. The reason we're sleep deprived is because I never in my life imagined this would happen. Writing anything that I wrote last night, preparing my speech, I was sitting there just crying. I couldn't get through because it was just everything's so real. Thank you. Everything was so real about my dad, my father. I feel like I'm in a dream. I want to wake up and just see you again, Abba. One of the things, I'm going to be all over the place, just remember. One of the things, it's how you define things in life. My father would say to me, stop being neurotic. My answer back to him was, in a jokey way, my father knew how to handle it. It wasn't chutzpah. I said, Abba, where do you think I get it from? But when you look at that and you say, neurotic, what do you mean by neurotic? Let me tell you, you guys don't even know. Maybe you do know, maybe you don't. There were times where I was just in certain places where I was living in Toronto just with my parents and just Menachem. Where I was in Camp Aguda, I was able to be in Camp Aguda, but not as a counselor, as a waiter for the families. And the reason I mention that is because I was able to actually sit on the side and not be busy with a million things and be able to watch my dad. And I'm telling you right now, no matter what you see, you don't know the love he has for everyone, how much he cares. I remember walking with my father in the kitchen in Camp Aguda, and he's checking the fridges, being neurotic. I said, Abba, what are you doing? You have a kitchen manager. He said, just in case the door's not shut, and the camp won't have milk tomorrow. I'm like, don't worry, you have to delegate. You don't know my father and my mother. You can't tell them what to do. They have a mind of their own. They'll listen, but those people have more energy than anyone I know. I'm sitting here feeling guilty because I'm like, I can't even keep up with my mother. My wife always says, I can't keep up with your mother. I don't know, they have an enormous amounts of strength. I'm going to say something about marriage. People in marriage is obviously everything, all life's about building a family. And some people seek marriage advice, some people speak to the Chassid Rebbe, Rebbitzin speak to their lady. I didn't need to speak to anyone. I did have someone, obviously, but the only thing I had to do was just watch my father and my mother, the way they treated each other. Abba always had her back, even in the hospital. I know the only way my father would eat his food when he didn't want to is that I had to look at him and I had to give him the guilt. I said, now you're putting me in a weird place. He was like, you better feed, you better eat. And now you're making me the middle person. And my father looked at me and he ate, even though he didn't want to. Whenever I would freak out about something or react to something that wasn't a big deal, my father would always say, you gotta relax. What are you gonna do when there's a real emergency? RHashana. That was my father. Always teaching us, not wasting words, always observing the situation, caring about everyone. The love he gave to my mother, the love he gave, and the life he gave to Menachem, the life he gave to the family, Toronto. I told my brother Yossi when he's going through the thank yous, I said, it's a tricky one. I argued when he said about all the thank yous because I know that there's so many people in this community and spending time with my parents. You know who you are. You know who you are. because there's a lot of people on the down low that you know who you are, that have been there through thick and thin. This community is family. I want to say a little story that always inspired me. This isn't about me, but sometimes it may seem like it is. And from this instant, I don't remember if it was Kosher City Plus or if it was No Frills or something. Some kid came up to my father and said, Rabbi Blaustein, could you do Shlumpy Shapiro impersonation? And I just started rolling my eyes. Please don't do it. There's a lot of people around. You think my father listened to me? And he did I'm not going to do the impersonation now, but he did Golly Dr. Midos. Afterwards, I said to Abba, I said, come on, Abba. Why? Why'd you do that? Like, the kid could wait. Like, we could do it a different time. Father said to me, he looked at me and he goes, what did I do the Marvelous Midos machine for then? What was the point? What was the point of doing the Marvelous Midos machine? I'm going to say what? I can't do an impersonation for a kid? That was my father. Kal v'chomer, you can imagine his own kids. I don't even know where to start. And I know that, just saying it straight up, I know that there's a lot of people that want to speak. But Ima, you're where we get our chizuk. You're a warrior, a trooper, what you went through. You know, working in healthcare, I was like excited. I'm gonna go to the hospital because I'm gonna get to take on everything, even though obviously everything's in Hashem's hands. And I watched my mother. I wasn't even freaked out at all. I was actually able to relax. I said, my mother's got it all in control. Obviously, of course, Hashem has everything in control. But hishtadlus, my mother, was unreal, really. You know, my father was the type of person that didn't give up on anyone. He would whisper to me sometimes, L'toelis, and say, that boy, well, who's that boy? What is he? He seems like different. Is he okay? That was my father saying, like, feel bad for that kid. My father would ask me, he's like, why does a kid, my father would say, why does a kid not want to wear a hat? Why does a kid not want to do tHEAgudah? My father would ask it to me, saying, I don't understand, like, where did the kids, what turns them off? Because it was real for my father. He didn't care about the gossip. He just wanted to know why. As my father says, they're emotional. They're. When my father would explain Gemara to me, one of the things he would do is he would use like a toy or something if there was an ox going to something, because he saw how hard it was for me to sit and learn. I'm not embarrassed about it at all. And he said, here, pretend, here's an ox, and here's the fruit. He struggled, like literally repeating it. My head was in the clouds. I didn't want to listen. I was just like, I don't know how Gemara relates. And he's like, it's okay, just 3 more minutes. How's my father? Just a little bit. If everyone just picks 2 pieces of garbage, everything will be clean. Pirchei, can't tell you how big of an inspiration my father was. The dedication he had toward everyone, the Pirchei. I watched him. I watched people walk him home from shul. My biggest thing that I always would get upset about, which I wasn't really upset about, was that everybody wanted a piece of my father, and I wanted more time. But he gave me so much time. One time, my wife and I just have to share this. And it's, obviously, I'm not knocking my father in the slightest, or my mother. My parents being the people that they are, they dedicated so much time very methodically. My wife and I sat, when we just got married, and we sat at the meal one Shabbos, just us. And my father said, you haven't stopped talking. I said, I finally got your attention with no distractions. I said, I'm making up for time that I missed. But my father wouldn't just ignore. He is just so busy with prioritizing what's in front of him. And a second, I just want to go through the last thing. The Gemara I said, sorry, bear with me, everyone. You know, I can't believe that I'm going to be saying Kaddish. My father was so makbid to say Amen Yehi Shuri Rabba out loud. These are things that my father just... going through the last part of this, just please bear with me, I'm sorry. Last thing I'll mention before I wrap up, I'm sorry. something that inspired me, there's so many, but something that always comes to my mind was remembering my bar mitzvah. This explains who my father was. Not doing it, just doing it all. You go in, you go all out. I was done practicing my bar mitzvah, I was ready to lay in, and he said, okay, we're going to go to the tHEAgudah now. I said, for what? No one's there. He said, perfect. Okay, so you go downstairs, and I'm going to go to the Ezra's Nashim. So I could hear you loud and clear. And he screamed to me from the Ezra's Nashim, louder, louder. That was my father. He wanted it to be done. But those were the things that mattered to him, not the things that were stupid, that didn't mean anything. You know, Yossi was asking, like, what's the answer? What can we do? How do we get through this hard time? I just say that right now. Abba's somewhere. Abba's Shemayim and Menachem and Mashiach's around the corner. We know it. I don't care what anybody says. Miracles, you have to look at them. You can't just say, oh, the parking spot just opened up for me. You have to look. With the missiles, everything's an tHEAgudah making it here. Every single thing. You can't just say, oh, wow, he got lucky because he got on a flight and they worked it out. Missiles not hitting the walkie-talkies, whatever you want to call them, the pagers. Everything's a miracle. We're going to see Abba soon. Hopefully, Mashiach's around the corner, and it's really not going to be that long, and we don't have to be that sad. Rebbe Hashem, we'll see Abba. Abba should be Militz Yashar for everyone. That's all I have to say.
We can't understand the ways of Hashem, but the Rebbe Shalom just took back the neshama of our father, Moishe Shmuel, Yitzchok, Meir. Just in my father's name, you have two manhigei Klal Yisrael. You have Moishe Rabbeinu, you have Shmuel and Avi, two of the greatest leaders of Klal Yisrael. My father was also a manig, starting from Pirchei leader, camp, a Rebbe in Yitzchok, but manig wasn't just a job. He never took a break from that role. He was always leading by example, always what is someone going to learn from me and how I'm doing it by hatorah, for his talmidim, for his campers, and anyone who came across him. Pasuk talks about Moishe B, Moshe, Anu Mikol Adam. My father had never had any sense of entitlement or gaiva. Nothing was beneath him. I saw him in camp, putting away the spoons, cutting tickets, things that someone else could have been doing. He did it. As a father, as a Rebbe, a camp director, my father only saw the good in people. It didn't matter what color shirt, yarmulke they wore, the type of yarmulke. My father he got along with everyone. In shul, he had a place upstairs, downstairs, Baba, Ger. He was welcome everywhere. They all welcomed him, and he looked at them equally, loved every yid. Another thing about my father, he had tremendous respect for G'daylim. I grew up constantly, and the past year especially, Kol Lowy, Kol Lowy, Kol Lowy. Everything was Rebbe Lowy, speed dial, Rebbe Lowy, Rebbe Lowy, Rebbe Lowy. Everything was al pi das Tehay. Growing up, what did your Rebbe say? Let's ask the Rav. We'll follow his eitzah, and you can't go wrong following das Tehay. My father had so much respect for Rav Turin in camp. Whatever Rav Turin said, that was the law. My father, about coming from Ger Chassidim, he named all of us after Rebbes. He got a picture within the past few years of all the Ger Rebbes. He loved that picture. He was so proud of it. He would speak about his visit to the Beis Yisrael with awe. Even so many years later, he remembered every single detail where the Rebbe was sitting in the room when he walked in, how hot the tea was, how it burned in his mouth. Everything he remembered because he lived it. It was like he was back there again. My father, Shabbos, always saying over and over from the Sfas Emes because that's who he was. Ger meant so much to his father, and it became a part of my father's life too. Now my father, now he's out there, he's going to be sitting with these Rebbes. Just like that picture you cherished, you're going to be right next to them. You might have a chassid that wonders, who's the tzaddik sitting over there, clean shaven? Say, no, he's a different type of Rebbe. This is a Rebbe that has talmidim, hundreds of thousands of talmidim, from kids in Connecticut that didn't know that you didn't watch cartoons on Shabbos, coming over to get a taste of Shabbos and not have peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but actual chalent, from people that are probably only keeping Shabbos for my father, because of my father. Shapiro Pirchei, camp. It's only because of my father. They were his talmidim. This is who he leads. And then up there you're going to get the kavod you deserve and the respect that I have for what kind of Rebbe you are for everyone. Please continue being Metzi Yisroel and give him the strength to get through this. Simbacha. Bina Letzach. Bina Letzach Umach Hashem. Tivon Me'alkov.
I'm not really sure how to distill my father into words. I think everybody here can probably do a better job than me. I've been, throughout my life, I just constantly find myself bumping into people everywhere just telling me different stories about my father and how he had an impact on them. The fact that we're sitting Shiva on Erev Rosh Hshana and there's no time practically for Shiva, I think that suits my father very well. My father went through life doing things and having no fanfare about it. He would just get the job done, not looking for the kavod, you're not looking for the money. It just has to be done, take care of it. He's not looking for anything from it. People who went to camp probably remember that my father would always tell them that every person's a Rebbe. Every person in their life is a Rebbe. It doesn't matter if you're actually a Rebbe in yeshiva or something like that, but everybody's a Rebbe, because at the end of the day, everybody's a role model, and everybody's being mashpia on the people around them. And he would tell this to the counselors and to the staff in camp, tell us to all the staff in camp. He would say, you are going to be mashpia on everybody in camp, no matter what your job is in camp, and you're going to bring up the camp. And that's what my father did throughout his life. That's what he tried to do. He went through life, everything. He was always about just being mashpia, just bringing everybody up with him. He always, as my brother said, he always believed in the best of every single person. I know many stories. I'm sure other people as well know many stories where my father literally went to bat for people that, they weren't necessarily at the best point in their lives, and my father went to bat for them, saying, no, this guy could do better. And he pushed them. He'd always push them to be better people. And he'd push us to be better people. He was always very, very, very into the fact that a person should be a kal person. He should always do things for the kila, for Pirchei, Matzah Shabbos Pirchei, counselors. He'd always to be a leader. I remember after my brother was nifter, all of a sudden, I felt one of the things that my father said to me is that he said that now that Menachem was nifter, I used to say that I don't have time to take care of certain things. He says, now I have more time. He says, now I have an obligation to go ahead and get more busy with different things tequila. I think he went ahead and he wanted to do the Likra Shabbos program because of it. That's my father. My father was always pushing, always trying to do more. I think one of the only times I ever actually recall my father being angry with me was when I turned down a Pirchei position recently. He wasn't happy with me. He said, "This is you're being a service to the Kila," and I was like, "Yeah," but he was not happy with me. My father, like Yossi said, is renowned for his stories. My father didn't just say stories; he lived them. I remember hearing from my father numerous times the Maisa, I believe it was with the Gra, that at the end of his life, the Gra was sitting with a pair of tzitzis, and he was crying over them. And he was saying, for a few kopecks in this world, a person could be zeicha to have olam haba in the next world. And where I'm going, we're not going to get that. And unfortunately, towards the end of his life, my father also was unable to wear tzitzis. And I remember he told me, I spoke to him in a phone call around a couple months ago, and he told me, he's like, I was sitting there and I was debating about whether to throw my tzitzis or not. Is it worth it? He says, for a few moments of wearing tzitzis? For a few moments? My father raised me with the utmost chashivas for limud haTorah. No matter how inconveniencing it was for him or for my parents, Torah always took priority. My Torah always took priority. The running joke in my family is that I'm always last to know about anything going on in my family, because my father would make sure about that so that I could actually learn in peace. I think the fact that the whole entire community came together for my father so much was a tremendous source of simcha and nechama for my father, to see the kehila coming together, everybody, all of his talmidim coming together, biyachad, ba'achdas, ba'agudah achas, in order to generate schlusim for him. I think it was a tremendous source of nechama for him, and I know it was for me as well. When my father, in camp, when you go on a trip, one of the last things you do before you leave the trip, my father would always say, it's time to clean up. And he said, we have to leave the place cleaner than we came. That was my father's line. I think that my father really accomplished this tachlis in this world. This world is a better place because of my father. I'm a better person because of my father. And everybody who knew my father is a better person because of my father. I wasn't sure, whatever. From here, I was trying to figure out how to go on from here, from this point, and just how do we move on from here? And I just remember when Menachem was nifter, I remember my father teaching me how we go ahead and we move on from this point. Menachem was nifter, and you make a bracha of dayin emes, and then you say Yiskada v'Yiskada Shmeir Abba. That's what we do. We go ahead and we make a Kiddush Hashem. We don't understand what the Rebbe does. We know that the Rebbe ultimately everything he does is good, and we say Yiskada v'Yiskada Shmeir Abba. And ultimately, my father was Mikadashim Shemaim in this world, and he taught me to be Mikadashim Shemaim in this world, and I hope I'm being Mikadashim Shemaim in this world. And I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss my father. Bila amav netzach u'machashem dima'al kol panim.
Molay lachamim shechein v'amroi miyeh Amtzei menucha nechayna Al chanfei hashechina V'malois kedoshim u'tahorem Kizoi haronoki yamazhinem Es Nishmas Moishe Shmuel Reb Yitzchok Meir Sheholach li'olamoi Va'avu shebli neder etin tzedakah ba'das koras nishmasoi V'gan Eden Tehay menuchasoi Lochein b'alo rachamim yastirehi b'seiser kenofov li'olamiyim V'yitzroi b'Tzrurah chayim es nishmasoi Adonai hu nachalosoi V'yanvar b'sholai mal mishkovoi v'noimar omein.
Minchas 2 o'clock at the base of the table. Floor is in Bathurst Lawn. and Shivas until 3 o'clock. Please let that everyone exit first.
Please make a way.
Yeah, excuse me, guys. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Which direction? Okay, this is small. Your brothers.
Two boys should not follow. Okay. Boys should not follow. Boys, children are not followed. Children are not followed.
Short here. Very sharp.
Should we keep it? Who's going to be the club? Who's going to be
I'll give you Kaddish card, yeah.
Let's go.
Sean.
Give to the Rabbi wants to. Okay, gentlemen, please.
Sean.
Start going, it's almost got toilet. Children should not follow. Why should we say down to Go faster. Go faster.